Back to the cab of our train again, to a speed of a mere 94 miles an hour, the legal limit. The speed of the train at every moment of the trip, the state of all the signals we pass, and the driver's reaction to them, are all recorded permanently on a paper chart in a sealed box just underneath the speedometer. It shows how the driver has handled his train, and it could give valuable evidence in the event of an accident. The signals are lights, not the semaphore type. Green for clear, yellow for caution, red for stop. When the train passes a green light, a bell rings in the cab. If the signal's yellow, a hooter sounds, but before it sounds, the driver must punch a button that marks the chart to show that he wasn't asleep. There's a signal coming up now. At Tonnerre, nearly 2/3 of the way from Paris to Dijon, we got a succession of yellow signals, and we slowed nearly to a stop as we went through the station. But the lights were green again on the far side of the station, and we were soon picking up speed. The acceleration is smooth and rapid. That's one of the substations that turn alternating current at 60,000 volts into direct current at 1,500 volts for the overhead wires. Look at the length of this goods train. Imagine waiting for that to pass at a level crossing. But what about the passengers who are traveling in the train behind us? Well, they're pretty well looked after. There's a comfortable buffet car for an aperitif or a glass of wine. By this time, the thrill of traveling in the cab was beginning to wear off a little. But I was still able to get a kick out of the approach to the long tunnel at Blaise-Bas. In the dining car, the second sitting of lunch was well underway. All I had in the cab was a 9-inch sandwich and some wine in a paper cup. Now we're into the chief town of Burgundy, Dijon, famous for mustard, gingerbread, and snails. And the demon driver is at the controls again. Thinks, how do you stop this thing without a strike?
I think it was well worth the sixpence, don't you, Hortensia?
Sixpence?
All the walk over there.
I'm actually driving the engine tonight. The pilot advising me. Yeah, very different. So Heritage Railways, the signalling system is very different.
Guys, can you come back?
Boris, very quickly.
Boris, just lean out. It's proper Welsh north.
tonight.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Happy? Can I just get your first and last name and your professional title, please?
Jeff Phelps, and I restore steam locomotives.
Okay, so first of all, then, what was it like driving that through the London Underground tunnels?
It was very interesting, quite exciting at times, but yeah, very good.
And did you have any safety concerns? I mean, the steam train running through kind of electrical tunnels.
I didn't know. No, I'm sure there are many people that did, but I didn't.
And it must have been quite a task restoring these trains to what they are now.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to restore them, and a lot of time. And in 10 years' time, we'll have to do it all over again, or somebody will. So, yeah.
But an apt way to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the tube, no doubt.
Well, it's got to be done, hasn't it? You can't do something 150 years later without a steam engine. It's an original engine built for the line, so and the coaches are all original coaches. So if it exists, you've got to use it, haven't you? Really.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so just talking to me as traditional, what is your opposition to the so-called Great Repeal Bill?
Well, everybody wants to protect the rights of citizens in this country, but there are serious flaws with the repeal bill as it's currently proposed. In particular, it's got sweeping powers by delegated legislation. Essentially, anything that happens after the repeal bill gets royal assent is going to be dealt with by delegated legislation. That's far, far too wide. It also doesn't protect rights properly. The Charter of Fundamental Rights has been left out, and powers that should be devolved to Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland are going to be hoarded in Whitehall. So there are serious flaws in it. What I've said to the government is, you're on notice, address these concerns, otherwise we're not going to support the bill.
Do you think you've got support across the House to defeat the bill, potentially?
Well, at the moment, what we're doing is setting out what the flaws are and putting the ball firmly in the government's court. It's really for the government now to respond. They've got until September to do so.
Okay, because we've got to pass.
I have to close the doors anyway in a minute.
Say yes, no.
So we have to close the door anyway in a minute. Yeah. Here we go, guys.
Yeah, go.
Okay.
What number?
Okay.
Oh, we couldn't give him number 10. That's Tony Anderson.
So the point of today is
If this is essentially exploratory, rather than we're not negotiating, we can't negotiate. Setting out our general position on trade access and so on, but we'll only pay if it's required to. It should be interesting.
good stuff. Listen, thank you for your patience.
You're very welcome.
We'll catch up with you.
See you later.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.
Maybe they don't.
Walk to. Yeah, just a walk and talk.
Yeah, no, that's a good information. Which is why they're using these delegated legislation.
Yeah.
Everything waits on the day.
And also,
A boy and a railroad train. They go together like a hot dog and mustard. Norman Fialo did something about his love for trains. He wrote a railroad president asking for a job as a locomotive engineer starting July 1960. Only 13, Norman writes he's had 7 years experience with locomotives, etc. Not one, but two railroad presidents, George Alpert of the New Haven and Lawrence Cowan, who makes model trains, help him get on the road toward a railroad career. Norman, you see, built his experience around model trains, expanding his hobby until it became a neighborhood attraction out in Jackson Heights, New York. So today he's made an honorary engineer of two railroads, moving from his model of an electric locomotive to the real thing. And at the controls, why, he couldn't ask for a bigger Christmas present. To quote Norman's letter, most of my friends talk about being jet pilots and stuff, but I've always liked railroads because I think they're more useful.
At the moment, some lines are runners with one train a week or whatever because there isn't simply the money to develop them in the way that everybody, British Rail, local councils, know would be sensible. In other cases, there simply isn't the will or the money to actually market services and develop them in the way that they should be. And in some cases, there's strong suspicion by locals that that British Rail would really like to shut these lines down but can't be bothered to go through the closure procedure.
The Esk Valley line from Middlesbrough to Whitby isn't down to ghost trains yet, but its future is far from secure. Here, the train operator, Regional Railways North East, is trying to improve usage on the line rather than run it down any further. It currently has just 4 trains a day each way. But trying to increase usage of this service that somehow escaped the beaching axe is a complicated business.
We're actually joining together with a lot of interested parties along the line, the local authorities, some voluntary groups, to try and build up local community involvement in the line. And we've also got a project together, a rail partnership, to try and get some European funding.
At present, the only thing between this route and closure is the service it provides shipping school children to and from Whitby. But what may increase its use is something more commonly associated with towns and cities, air pollution, and the increasing toll the car is taking on the environment.
All of a sudden, hey presto, we've got the problems of increased ozone levels, particularly in places like this, where you'd think it's the last place in the world where you have levels higher than the World Health Organization's levels, but no, it happens here. And we have, well, last year it was about 167 million miles were driven by visitors to this national park within the area, so that's obviously causing additional pollution, congestion, and it's in fact destroying what people are coming to see, which is peace and tranquility.
But while the Esk Valley line struggles to improve its services, it's linked to a line closed by beaching and now thriving. The North Yorkshire Moors Railway runs the 18 miles between Pickering and Gromont. It's a steam train line, working to fixed timetables And as tourist revenue overall around it has decreased, it has managed to increase the number of passengers using the line for pleasure and for travelling through the surrounding national park. Over 200,000 people travel on this line every year now, and there may be a message for less nostalgic train operators.
We ran more trains and extended our service period, so that over a period of 2 years we've increased our passenger numbers by nearly 20%.
Do you think that's the answer? Run more trains, get more passengers?
If you don't run trains, you won't have passengers, and I think this is the one thing which British Rail don't do. They attack lack of profitability by cutting back. British Rail have a lot to learn.
But faced with train leasing charges as part of the run-up to privatisation, train operators have to find substantial amounts of money, which have to be backed by guaranteed returns. It's a vicious circle. This is the Croxley Green to Watford Junction ghost train, which is being run to keep the line open for strategic reasons. There are plans to link this line to the London tube system. It's arguable whether private operators could be bothered to do this, especially if the franchise director doesn't specify services like this in the minimum requirements of the sort published today. If a ghost train isn't specified, it's effectively suggesting the line should close. However, some believe private operators might run more ghost trains, not less.
We believe that with fares capped, with uncertainties over subsidy, what's very likely to happen is that the minimum services specified by the franchise director will actually become the services operated, with some exceptions. And we think that therefore there's a danger that privatisation can see cuts in services rather than the expansion that Dr. Mimouni claims to want.
The legal victory over ScotRail's attempt to run ghost services, allowing them to cut the Fort William sleeper, may well have set a precedent for further legal challenges over service and line closures. But meanwhile, privatisation's not yet running to schedule.
The franchising process is dragging, and the reason is that investors are very uncertain of what they're buying. The railway has been fragmented into a form which is quite unprecedented worldwide. Nobody knows how it's going to work. We can see performance deteriorating on most lines. There's no doubt about that at all. It is because of the a management structure which is less efficient and less effective, and this naturally has the investors worried.
Some claim that privatisation is now a runaway train, with the government capping fares to make the passengers feel more secure, and with continuing worries about lines and services. It allows the government's critics to claim that privatisation will hit the buffers at the end of the line. Rory McLean, Channel 4 News, on the ghost train to Watford Junction.
The government pulled the plug on Railtrack in October 2001. Mr. Byers had been secretly planning to do this for months before, say shareholders, and he should have said so publicly, so shares weren't bought and sold on the basis of false information.
In spite of my inexpert assistance, we arrived right on time. In fact, we had a few seconds to spare. That's the end of the trip for me. While my co-driver took the train on to Lyon, where electricity gives way to steam, I asked a couple of English-speaking passengers what they thought of French railways.
Have you travelled on French railways before?
Not a great deal.
How do you find them?
Very efficient on timekeeping.
And on other things?
Oh, very good on service. They only lost our luggage last night, so we didn't go on the sleeper. That's why we're here today.
Well, did they find it for you as quickly
as
they could?
eventually, but the train had gone.
So you've been put a day late?
Yes, another night in Paris.
Did they pay for your night in Paris?
No, not likely.
How do you find that French railways compare with the services in the United States?
Well, the principal advantage in the French railways is their punctuality. I think I've ridden to Marseille over 100 times. I was only late once, and that was for 2 minutes. That's a pretty good record.
And how do you find the food?
Excellent.
Better than an American train?
Yes, the America one has a wider choice of food, but none of it is as good.
This signal room at Dijon controls the line between here and Blaisy-Bas. That's where we went into that long tunnel, remember? Partly because of the tunnel, this section's a bit of a bottleneck, and they've solved the problem by a system that allows trains to run in either direction along both lines. The section has 2 sets of crossings, so that trains can be switched from one track to the other, and 2 sidings that can take trains from either direction. These are all controlled by the man at the console in the center of the room. In front of him is a board on which lights indicate the position of every train and the direction it's going in. They call it centralized train control. And there's the result. 2 trains in the same direction, one on each track. In Paris, I talked to Monsieur Hutter, head of the railway's planning department.
How much of the French railway system is electrified, Monsieur Hutter?
It's just over 10% of the mileage. But as far as traffic is concerned, it's over 40%.
And do you plan to electrify the whole lot or not?
No, that wouldn't be profitable for the whole lot, but the limit, we think that the limit is about 20%, 20% of the mileage. But that means 75% of the traffic.
Since the war, a new kind of electric locomotive has made its appearance in the northeast of France. An ugly steel coffin of a machine, but one that contains an invention new to the railways, the ignitron. This enables a train to be run on ordinary alternating current instead of direct current. Alternating current's the kind that powers...
The race began for real today in the competition for the cross-channel freight market. Keeping the lorry drivers sweet is just part of the game, but hundreds of millions of pounds worth of business is at stake. So ITN asked one driver to compare the ferry with the tunnel. Saddled with huge debt, Eurotunnel must attract a large slice of the growing cross-channel freight market if it's ever to make money. This consignment will run for free, but from July there'll be a regular service offering speed as its main attraction. Lorry drivers have their own compartment, where today Chris Slight and his friends got cold food. In the future they'll get a free 3-course hot meal. Stark contrast with the ferry, which he took last Sunday. There the meal costs £3, but there's plenty of it, and there's plenty of room to wander about during the 1.5-hour crossing. That contrasts with 35 minutes through the tunnel.
Much better than ferry, because you don't get seasick on this one.
You're not going to be waiting for boats if there's cancellations through bad weather.
You do get more of a time to relax on the ferry, because the time factor involved.
Critical to the success or failure of the shuttle will be its pricing policy. At the moment it will cost £390 one way if you pay full fare, but most big freight companies will get discounts of up to 50%.